you look at the way our children actually relate, parents, they are geeks with gadgets in their hands, and it's difficult for them to hold a conversation. That actually is also happening in the business world, in our work, because we're now focusing a lot more on this AI, this AI, this AI. Now I'm using ChatGPT and I'm taking off my brain to actually craft a message, to actually have a conversation with somebody. Relationships and the ability to collaborate with others, I think those are the things that this AI is meant to actually free us to do, to use all the graphs, all the visuals that come from all of these animated graphics to actually tell the story in a compelling manner that it's going to drive decision making. When you're just starting out in your career, it's a whole lot about, can you get the job done? Do you have the technical skills?
Yes.
Those are the things that we are looking for. The moment you start looking after others, it's now the impact, your influence and impact on those that work under you. If at the end of your tenure, you don't have a leader or someone in your team who's ready to take over from you, then have you really led? Have you really actually met your mandate? Always raise your hand up for the opportunities that come where you are at the moment. They may not come dressed as the opportunities that you think are the opportunities that are going to get you to those countries and get you this cross-border. Sometimes it could be a virtual assignment that you are given. Even just writing an email or writing a report that actually gets you noticed, and the opportunity actually can come. With whatever is given to you to actually do it to the best of your ability. You don't know who is watching, and who might actually call you out.
Hello and welcome to the Money and People podcast, the show where we connect the dots between financial success and the power of human capital. Today on the show, we're going to be discussing leadership without borders, an executive's journey in banking and audit. And to break this topic down, we are joined by Chuma Silutongwe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julia. Thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have you on the show. In the background, we've been looking forward to this episode.
Finally.
And for those people that don't know you, who is Chuma Silutongwe?
That's a loaded question. I'd say, first of all, Chuma is a child of God. She is a wife, a mother, a daughter, and a sister. So that's parts of the puzzles to who I am. She's also a very good friend to many. Professionally, I am currently holding the role of Head of Internal Audit in East Africa at Standard Bank Group. And I've had previous roles before that, but that's what I'm doing presently. So supporting the 4 countries in my region to drive assurance for their boards and their executive management as they continue on their journey of driving Africa's growth.
Okay. That sounds like an interesting package. You are a well-rounded individual. And just to bring in a little bit of fun into the episode before we go back to your professional journey, we'll go into a few icebreaker questions.
Okay.
So what's the first thing you do when you land in a new country on business?
Buy a new SIM card.
You don't want to feel disconnected.
I do not want to be disconnected from my people. But also in case I get lost, and I need to get in touch with the people who are receiving me. I usually get that, and I find it's a lot easier to get a SIM card at the airport than once you've left the airport, because then they want addresses and all of those other things. So that's what I do. That's the first thing I do.
Yeah, that's very wise, actually. I made that mistake, left the airport, and it took me like 3 days to get someone from the office who could help me register a SIM card. So I struggled. Yeah. So if you weren't in banking or audit, what career path do you think you would have taken?
So at heart, I'm a creative. So I'd probably be doing maybe interior design.
Okay.
Or fashion.
Okay.
Or maybe I'll be a chef. One of those 3.
That's
I
very
love creating things.
interesting.
So those are the things,
Oh,
and in fact, those are the things that keep me busy in my spare time. So
okay.
I'd probably be doing one of those things.
Okay, interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that by looking at you. I would have thought maybe you would have said, okay, maybe I was gonna be an engineer or a doctor, because typically growing up, people were like,
Yeah.
it's this or this or that. And
Mm.
what's a book, podcast, or quote that has inspired your leadership style?
I'd say probably a book, The Leader Who Had No Title by Robin Sharma.
Okay.
And I read it. I mean, I was probably in the first decade of my career when I read it. And I think the concepts around what a leader is, what a leader looks like, um, concepts around excellence, empathy, around just having the zeal to actually do your best, regardless of what you are called. Those concepts that he has in his book, I think they deeply resonated with my own life because I don't think that I've ever chased a title
Yeah.
in my job. I've always just been looking to be the best that I could be at any given time, like just do the best out of whatever you've been asked to do. And if you look and if you talk to people in my life, in my personal life, they'll also tell you that probably that's how they experience me as well. Um, in life outside of work is I
Okay.
do my best at whatever I'm given to do. Sometimes you won't even be asked to do. You just see there's something that needs to be done here to improve the situation, and you go ahead and do it. You don't wait to be asked to do it. Yeah. So that book has really, I think, shaped much of my leadership journey.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so are you like a reader, lover of books? And along the way, did you find some other books that inspired
Oh,
your
there's a lot.
leadership?
There's a lot. I probably won't even be able to tell you tell you all the titles
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I read widely as well.
yeah.
I think in the recent this year I've also gone into fiction and fantasy. So I've
Oh,
gone outside just to also broaden my vocabulary and just yeah, my imagination. So I
okay.
read very widely. Yeah. I also listen to and watch podcasts. Um yeah. So yeah. I
Okay.
don't think I can give you another title. Well, let's see. The Seven Habits.
Okay.
You know that one.
Yes.
Um, which other one?
Any local reads?
Have read Mizinga's books, both of
Ah,
them. I
okay.
have. As You Rise and Against the Odds. I've
Yeah.
also read what's this lady, the lawyer? She did her what?
Linda
Yes,
Kasonde.
I read her book as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm reading quite currently I'm reading the Vice President's book as well.
Ah,
So yeah.
okay.
So I'm actually enjoying reading a lot from the Zambian authors, especially the women,
Yes.
just to understand their stories, where they're coming
Mm.
from. I
Very
think it
relatable
yes,
stories.
exactly. So yeah, enjoying those
Yeah, I'm
currently.
reading Dora Celia's book, and it's reminding me a lot of my childhood
Ah, right.
because I used to read the Post newspaper a lot, and I'm like, oh, so that's what was happening in the background when I was reading
Exactly.
these headlines.
Exactly. Like, okay, now you can connect all the dots because they're
Yes,
also telling it in their voice.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Mm,
Okay.
mm,
And so we go back now to your career and
mm.
we can take it back to the beginning. What first drew you to a career in finance and audit?
I will be very honest here. Money.
Okay, okay.
Sounds cliche, but I'll explain.
Yeah,
So I was in university. I mean, going into uni at CBU, I I went with the mindset that I'll do business admin. I was
Oh,
like, oh, this is just the natural course.
yeah,
And what happens is at CBU, at the end of your second year, you now have to go into your specialization. You're
yes.
going to do marketing, business admin, or accounting. So at that particular point, also, I don't know if it still happens now, but we had the Bank of Zambia and Citibank who pick up like the best students from an accounting perspective going into third year and offer them scholarships.
Yeah.
So they take them off the government bursary. And
Mm.
that means more money in
Yes.
terms of meal allowances and all of that. So
Yes.
So yes, I was one of the students that they picked in my year, going into accounting. And the condition they give when offering you that scholarship is that you do accounting. Yes.
Oh.
So yeah, so I was like, well, maybe it's not such a bad idea. There's going to be
Yeah, I
money
mean, you
involved.
were
So
already performing at that level,
exactly.
so
So
okay.
so I took that, and audit, to be honest, wasn't like my my best subject or my favorite subject, but
Mm-hmm.
I loved numbers, so the accounting side was great.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of uni, we had the mines come in and approach us, and as well as the audit firms. So at that time, it was actually a personal decision that led me to choose which of the two I would actually take, in terms of the opportunities that came to the table. I needed to be in Lusaka, because of my dad. And so, yeah, so I took that decision, to join PwC,
Okay.
which I did in February of 2006.
Okay.
Yes. Um, yeah, it was another learning ground, but that's how basically I started my career in finance
So did you
and
fall
audit.
in love with accounting as you were doing it, or?
Accounting, I always loved. I
Yeah.
always loved numbers. I was always good with numbers. So naturally, I loved it as well. It was the audit part that I just couldn't get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was pretty much a C student in uni.
Yeah.
I think I only got to understand a lot about auditing when I actually started doing the job. So it was
Yes.
literally like getting into class again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started, I think, through that, and just through meeting different clients, because in external audits you were not fixed into doing just one thing. You would audit different areas but also audit different clients at any given point. And so I think that diverse nature of the job, I think, made it exciting for me. So yeah, so I got into it as I was doing the work. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And when you were in your external audit role, I'm sure there were opportunities to transition into mainstream like financial accounting, take on finance manager or CFO roles. What made you then decide to move to internal audit?
Mhm. So internal audit, also, I think it was the diversity of internal audit and the span of what we're able to do within the organization. Um, I did, and I won't lie, I did try and apply for finance roles and all of that. So I'd like to say that no, internal audit was always the thing. No, it wasn't. I think it was the opportunity that opened up first for me. I would have gone into core finance, or audit.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have minded either streams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
cool. And what's a risk that you took in your career that really paid off?
Well, I do that. I take risks on a daily basis.
Okay.
Um, Let me maybe speak to the one that led to the role that I'm doing now.
Okay.
So when I left PwC to join Stanbic,
Mm-hmm.
I came into the role of head internal audit. So that is an exco role within the country. But Stanbic is part of a larger group. So within the larger structure, I also report, in that capacity, I was reporting to a regional head who was then reporting to an Africa head.
Okay.
And the Africa leader was, at that time, he used to have what we call a business manager, almost like an executive assistant role. So that role, my he had made a rotational role for any head of audit who wanted to actually do it. So in the second year of him doing that, he actually asked me,
Yeah.
would you like to do this business manager role? And I was like, maybe, let me think on it.
Yeah.
Thought on it. I was like, yeah, sure. And it was like, yeah, 6 months, you spend some of the time here in South Africa with me, and I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. Speaking to my leaders, my regional heads around that time, they were like, why would you go and do this role? It's quite menial. It's like you're being a PA to this man.
Yes, yes.
And I was like, I'd actually want to be exposed to what he does, but also to get the opportunity to work with other country heads, because essentially um, that business manager role is the touch point between him and the countries and the regional heads. And unfortunately, or fortunately, what happened is uh, just before I took the role, COVID hit. So just before I was to start my role, COVID hit, and with COVID came the lockdowns. So what that meant is I couldn't actually go into South Africa and to do that. But thankfully, my boss actually said, we'll still do this. You will still be the business manager and we'll work together. And what actually then happened is instead of me having to do it for 6 months, I ended up doing it for 15 months.
Oh.
Yes. So I was doing that alongside my country role. But at the end of that 15 months, there were so many leadership changes, and a role became vacant for a regional head. And so, I mean, from the bank perspective and the group, we pride ourselves in growing leaders internally, and so succession planning is a big thing. And so, yeah, so they looked at who is on succession to be on this regional role and all of that. And at the time, I was among the few heads of audit who had actually been exposed to doing work at almost like a level of the Africa head and the regional heads. So it was almost like a natural choice for them that I could actually do that. Yeah, it wasn't the easiest 15 months, because you remember we were trying to deal with COVID and the new normal that came with that, and I was doing 2 jobs. So it was hard, but it was well worth it. Here I am 5 years later, still doing a regional role, and doing the work that I love.
Okay, that's interesting. So along the way, how did you just manage to juggle the 2 roles? It sounds like both roles sound demanding, I imagine.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to do that without burning out? Or did you burn out and just push through it?
There was burnout.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, the first few months were very, very tough. There were very many late nights involved, and my boss was so demanding. He's one of those who bring up an idea and expect you to execute it. And so, yeah, a lot of late nights. But I think some of the things that really helped me, number one, the support system that I had. My husband, our kids were still quite young. And even just the fact that my employer enabled us to work from home, that really helped, because I didn't have to wake up and put on makeup and get into traffic to go to the office. I could just wake up in my pajamas and start working. So that really helped. But the support system that I had in my family, but also the helpers, everyone who was around me to help, I think that really also helped quite a lot. The other thing, I think we were going through quite a bit, not just me personally, but all of us were going through a lot of loss. And I remember that in some meetings, we'd be sitting in a virtual meeting. By that time, we were on Teams. We would have a meeting, heads of audit, and somebody within that meeting receives a message that they've lost someone very close to them. And someone has to pick up the slack from them, because then they're out for some days. But the organization enabled us to do that. But also, because of the relationship we had developed within the group internal audit, we were able to lean on each other quite a lot. Someone would step in whenever you're not able to, because either you yourself have got COVID, or someone you've lost someone you love. So I think that support network and the collaboration that we had really helped us to navigate that. I'd like to say that that's what helped us.
That sounds interesting.
Mm.
And then, what were some of the defining moments early in your career that set the stage for your own leadership?
Hmm. Defining moments. I think um, when I started in PwC, for instance, um, I had difficult moments. I had a couple of failures while learning,
Mm-hmm.
and through those periods, obviously you take the impact of the loss of. But I always felt supported.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always felt supported through the moments of failure, even through the moments where I thought I'd done a great job, even that I was recognized for. So the culture that was there in that organization, and I believe it's still there now,
Mm-hmm.
really helped to bring out some of the characteristics or the skills that had actually developed in my own going through life. Some of the skills that came through, or some of the things that were grown in me, whether it's through school, whether it's through what experiences I had
Yeah.
home, to the extent that by the end of the first year, so when they recruit, it's a group of 20
Mm-hmm.
new graduates, and out of that group of 20, at the end of the first year, um, a group of 4 of you have been promoted twice in that year,
Wow.
um, based on the work that you've delivered. And you start to
Yeah.
think, okay, maybe there is something that my
Yes.
leaders are seeing that I'm not seeing. And you get that through the feedback loop. And yeah, you start to gain that confidence, that you can actually do certain things. And yeah, so we go on through the ranks and they give you more and more responsibility. And through that, you continue to challenge yourself, challenge your teams, and you grow through that. One of the things I think in my early days or early months as a manager
Mm-hmm.
is that um, I was made the manager that was the people manager in our assurance function. So basically, whether it was booking people on jobs, I ran with that. Whether it was looking at people's performance and running with the process alongside the other management team, to run that process of who gets promoted, who doesn't, and all of that.
Yeah.
So I ran that for some time. I think from manager until the time I left. At the time, I thought it was just like, okay, it was a job to do and they had to give it to somebody.
Yeah.
So I did the job, and it's only now, doing what I'm doing now in my current organization,
Mm-hmm.
that I look back and see that actually, probably my leaders saw something in me that I didn't see at the time.
Yeah.
And that thing is only manifesting now.
Yeah.
In my current organization, I also look after the people pillar. I have done since I was a regional head. And I've done that. Um, yeah, it's a geography of 18 countries.
Wow.
And you're responsible for the people pillar
Yeah.
in terms of making sure they're engaged, making sure that the opportunities that come actually go to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
So it has become, I think, as I have grown in my leadership journey, it is now a lot more about the people and their
Yeah.
growth
Yeah.
and their recognition. Whereas years ago, it was a lot more about me
Mm-hmm.
getting the job done, getting the recognition, getting the growth. Now my growth looks very different. My growth actually is measured in who else have I grown behind me, and which other leaders are actually taking over places from me.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's
I think,
very
yeah,
interesting. Yeah. And so is that the main evolution of your leadership from when you first started? Is that it's more about your impact than on the people that
absolutely,
you're leading?
absolutely. I think because now I'm a leader of leaders.
Yes.
So my growth is very little. I mean, when you're just starting out in your career, it's a whole lot about, can you get the job done? Do you have the technical skills?
Yes.
Those are the things that we are looking for. The moment you start looking after others, it's now the impact, your influence and impact on those that work under you. If at the end of your tenure, you don't have a leader who's or someone in your team who's ready to take over from you, then have you really led?
Yeah.
Have you really actually met your mandate? So yes, now it's a lot more, I think, in terms of if I were to say what would be my legacy when I leave this group, when I leave my current role, it should be a lot about who have I left behind or how many leaders have actually grown under my guidance and my support. So
Yeah.
that's what it's about. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And so, in your role, how do you strike a balance between regulatory compliance, strategic growth, and innovation? Because typically, when people see any type of accountant, they're thinking someone is behind the numbers or someone is checking the controls. But I'm guessing now the time that we are in calls for a lot of innovation and that people in your kind of role maintain this hunger for strategic growth. So how to just find that balance?
Mm. So yeah, current industry, we're very heavily regulated, and a lot of the times you find that the regulations actually lag behind the innovation that we're trying to do. And so that now calls for a lot of collaborative effort
Yeah.
in terms of bringing the regulators along the journey of your growth, to see also what is the case for this innovation, what is the case for what these people are trying to do. So as you bring them alongside, to also then speed up the regulation, or actually then say, do we actually need regulation in this particular space? So I think that collaboration and carrying the regulators along, is necessary. But the times where sometimes you will even find a certain innovation in a specific geography does not have regulation that covers it. For a group like ours, we then look at what is international practice, what's the standard that exists that
Yeah.
we can then use as best practice and adopt this as we wait for the regulator to catch up. The key thing for me is that whether it's regulation, it should not stifle the innovation.
Yeah.
And so you have to navigate that with the regulator, but also there's best practice. Someone else would have done it elsewhere that you can adopt if there is that vacuum in your market.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And the regulators are open to that collaboration.
Absolutely. And now we're actually seeing a lot more collaboration across Africa. Um, Even with like South Africa, the regulators are collaborating in their efforts in terms of making sure that they stay up to speed with what is happening within the markets. They're not lagging behind. So I think it's getting better. Not yet there, but yeah, we'll get there.
Okay, that's great. And having worked across different countries and worked with people from different nationalities, has that in any way impacted or changed your understanding of leadership?
Um, in my understanding of leadership, not so much, but in
Okay.
terms of the role of leadership, and how it actually manifests in the various environments, yes.
Okay.
And essentially, it's basically when you look at the core of it is you are exposed to different cultures, working in those different countries. It's different economies, different people. Um, what we are after might be the same thing, but in the cultural context might bring a different flavor to it.
Yeah.
And so, as a leader, I think for me that the one thing that it's it's changed, it continues to shift and challenge, is my own biases
Okay.
around what I understand to be my role,
Yeah.
because different teams in different countries, based on their own experience that has brought them to where they are, will want to be led in a different way.
Yeah.
There are those who are very assertive and they want to lead various efforts, and you have to let them.
Yeah.
You have to provide that room. There are those who want to hear from you as the leader in order to get inspired to do something. You have to lead them.
Yeah.
Even just within a team, just here in Zambia, if I have a team of 5 people, I'm going to have a Gen X, I'm going to have different generations, I'm going to have different genders. And based off of that, the way that I will lead them on an individual basis will also be nuanced to what they need. So there's a collaborative leadership where I'm leading a team, but there's also a one-on-one leading of each individual. And that just works across the different markets as well. And I think even from a strategic standpoint, when you are looking at strategy, especially for a global organization like the one I work for, you will have, these are the 3 focus areas in our strategy, and that is what you're going to drive across all of your markets. However, how those particular strategic focus areas land in each of the geographies has to be nuanced to the cultural aspects of what drives the economy, what's the heartbeat of this particular country, what's their population makeup, how many young people do they have versus the elderly, and therefore, how do we land this strategy? You have to do that if you're going to have a chance to succeed. Yeah.
Okay. And do you think, I know you mentioned just being able to recognize and 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 incorporate the diverse cultures that you're working with, and obviously that brings in some sort of intelligence in terms of handling. So was there any time when you were dealing with a different culture and you had to really bring in that cultural intelligence to avoid any labeling or just a misunderstanding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Many instances. One I can probably speak to is when I joined a different leadership team in another country from the one that I was part of in my previous other roles, is I found there was one particular issue around the structure of the team that my predecessors, for no fault of their own, hadn't been able to land the change that we wanted on the structure. And I got in there, and within my first few meetings, I got to understand how that leadership team actually worked. So it's one of those, and I'm not saying it's a wrong thing or anything, it's just a different way of doing things. They favored really having meetings before the meeting. So where you sit and have alignment with different leaders to get their support, whether it's business leaders, it's whoever, which was a little bit foreign to me, coming from where I was coming from in my other experience. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is what's done. And I was actually advised to do it that way by my leaders. So I was like, okay, with respect to this, fine. I didn't actually go in with anything fundamentally different from what had previously been presented. But I just went in and listened to the various perspectives and the historics behind some of the reactions to what we were proposing. And and I took the advice as well that happened in those smaller meetings. And by the end of that particular few weeks, by the time we were going to the EXCO session that was going to make that decision, I had all the support that I needed. There was actually a very, very little conversation within the meeting because I had addressed all the issues that were raised in my private conversations with the various leaders. So by the time we're getting into that conversation, it was a done deal, and we got the support we needed. So it's one of those things where you find that your way that you've known to do things is not the only way.
Yeah.
And that's basically the benefit you get, I think, from being exposed to different environments. That first of all, you don't have all of the knowledge,
Yeah,
whether
definitely.
technical or even leadership.
Yeah.
There's always something to learn. And I think most importantly for me, these experiences in the various countries actually expand my worldview. It's one thing to read about a certain country and to read about it, to watch it on the news, but that's just part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
When you are in an actual market, you actually experience the people, you
Mm-hmm.
experience the food, um, you walk their markets, you walk their streets. It gives you a very different view of that environment coming out. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
That's interesting. So now I'd like you to address an emerging African leader who is interested in pursuing these international opportunities to say, what advice would you give them as someone who's um, gone through this path? And if they're having any self-doubt, like what tools would help them to mitigate that?
Mm. Well, the first thing I would say is don't wait until you're 100% ready, because you will never be 100% ready. And if you are 100% ready, then probably the opportunity that you are looking at is not the right one for you,
Okay.
because you need an opportunity that is going to stretch you, that is going to grow you. But
Mm-hmm.
if you come in already, all the boxes are ticked,
Mm-hmm.
then there's going to be very little room for you to grow. That's one. The second one also is always raise your hand up for the opportunities that come where you are at the moment. Um, they may not come dressed as the opportunities that you think are the opportunities that are going to get you to those countries and to get you this cross border. Sometimes it could be a virtual assignment that you are given, even just writing an email or writing a report
Mm-hmm.
that actually gets you noticed, and the opportunity actually then comes.
Yeah.
So, with whatever is given to you to actually do it with the best of your ability. And you don't know who is watching
Yeah.
and who might actually call you out. So those would be the two big things. The third one also is don't let failure stop you.
Yeah.
And in the same breath, I would say also don't let success stop you. There's a quote I came across, which I think is very profound, and it says that when you fail, don't let it get to your heart,
Yeah.
and equally when you succeed, don't let it get to your head.
Ah.
And that's where sometimes we can stop ourselves by both failure and success, is
Yeah.
where you let it settle. When you succeed, sometimes you become unteachable,
Yeah. And
like you
comfortable.
and comfortable, and like you know it all.
Yeah.
And when you fail, sometimes it's difficult to pick yourself up.
Yeah.
So feel the emotions, be vulnerable, talk to somebody. There's always somebody who's gone ahead of you. And I've found that having the right mentors, even though I don't call them mentors, for a specific experience that they've gone through, they will be a mentor.
Yeah.
And find those people. They can be in your organization. They can be people that you are inspired by. Read
Yeah.
their book,
Yeah.
watch their podcasts,
Yeah.
like this one.
Yes.
And yes, and yeah, don't wait until someone comes and says, okay, now I'm your mentor. You
Yeah.
can be mentored. And even from a worldview perspective, you don't need to wait until you actually go into the country.
Mm-hmm.
You can read about the country,
Yes.
read broadly, read various sources just to understand what's happening in that country. Draw parallels between that country and yours.
Yeah.
You never know where the opportunity comes through.
Okay. I feel like that was for me. Might start considering those international opportunities. Okay. And are there any emerging trends in your space, banking, audit, that are exciting you? or even concerning you?
Um, I don't even know if they're still trends or they're just now part of BAU,
Yeah.
and not really tied to industry. But in audit, I would probably say the new standards, the new internal audit standards that have come through are calling a lot on internal auditors to provide a lot of advisory. And I think that's a reflection of where the world is and where it's going. The pace of change is so rapid that sometimes you will go into an environment and try and assess the controls for a risk that has actually just shifted in how it's manifesting in that environment. And therefore the controls might not actually be working. Even if they are followed to the T, they may no longer be mitigating the risk that's happening. And so it requires us as auditors to actually shift our mindset in terms of auditing, to move a lot away from compliance, but to purpose. What is the purpose of these controls that we have? And for the risks and how they are playing out, do they actually still mitigate, or should we be thinking differently? But also our stakeholders want a lot more support from us in terms of giving them a hand, because they're also managing and leading this change at the same time as we are experiencing it. So as they're changing different products, as they are changing ways of work, they want us to be alongside them and give them that real-time assurance that, oh, you're on the right track, or no, stop, wait until you've dealt it this way or the other. And so that actually calls for a different mindset as auditors. Sometimes I feel like we hide a lot behind this. Us as internal auditors, we need to be independent. We can't, and we put a lot of blockers. And yet we can be more creative around how do we provide that support to management and add value as we are shifting. I mean, the change is now just the only constant that we're going through, and it calls for us to be very adaptable in our approach whilst maintaining our independence, but also being empathetic to what our leaders are going through, what the business is actually experiencing, because they are having to navigate that that change whilst making money, whilst keeping the business afloat. So you need to actually empathize with that. It's not the easiest of things. And how do we play a supportive role through that journey? So from an audit standpoint, I think that's what I would paint. From an industry perspective, I think this AI buzz will be with us for some time. AI as well as automation. Whilst fears are still the ones that are driving us to actually scramble around and say, okay, how do I get upskilled? How do I want to stay relevant and all of that? I think the upskilling is right, but the intent around it is what I find to be a bit, people are fearing for their jobs, and so they are going to upskill. I think if we were to approach it from the perspective of, I want to upskill, and because it's not about me fearing for my job, it's about how do I work better with all these digitization or these automated tools or this AI. How do I use it to, number one, improve my productivity? Number two, to enhance my creativity as well. Because I feel like those are the two core areas where it should support us. It's not going to replace us, but it's supposed to help us do better work. And also, I feel like the other side to that coin is also that we're also neglecting some of the skills that will actually be more relevant in the future. And these are the soft skills, the ones that are actually hard to hardwire in our brains and to actually practice. And unfortunately, technology is kind of negating from that as well. If you look at the way our children actually relate currently, they are geeks with gadgets in their hands, and it's difficult for them to hold a conversation. That actually is also happening in the business world, in our work.
Yeah.
Because we're now focusing a lot more on, oh, this AI, this AI, this AI. Now I'm using ChatGPT and I'm taking off my brain to actually craft a message, to
Yeah.
actually have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
Because relationships and the ability to collaborate with others, I think those are the things that this AI is meant to actually free us to do, to use all of the, what do you call these, all the graphs, all the visuals that come from all of these automated dashboards
Yeah.
to actually tell the story in a compelling manner that it's going to drive decision making. If
Yeah.
I shove a dashboard at a stakeholder, at an executive, that's not going to influence the decision. It's how I tell the story behind that.
Yeah.
And those are the skills. How
Yeah.
do I tell it in a compelling way, in a way that actually influences you as the executive to actually take the decision?
Yeah.
So I feel like those are the skills that we also ought to focus on, because those are what won't be replaced.
Yeah, I hear you. You've just reminded me of someone at work who, every time we have a presentation to do, he always says, guys, when we go in, no one should read the slides. Everyone can read.
Absolutely.
But what are you going to tell the people on that meeting
Absolutely.
that is going to help them know what is really happening? We are not going there to read slides. And that's exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah.
is that everyone, even the users of the information that you're using ChatGPT for, they can also go on ChatGPT and find that information. So how are you going to tell the story behind that information and get people to be influenced to make certain decisions? That's very interesting. Um, how long have you been working? I'm trying to not to get at your age,
No problem. No problem. What year is this?
2025. You
Okay,
said
about
2006.
19 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God,
So
that's long.
if you could go back 19 years, what career advice would you have for that younger self who was just getting into audit? What advice would you have for
That's loaded.
them?
The advice to me starting out,
Yeah.
I'd say number one, Chuma, you're on the right path. Keep going. Number two is it's not a destination. It's the journey.
Yeah.
The journey, and enjoy the view. Take as many pictures, but also collect the experiences and just lean into every experience, good or bad, because all of those experiences are the pieces that are going to make you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you could go back, would there be anything that you would do differently?
No.
Okay.
Do you want me to explain that?
Yes, I'm like, okay.
And I'm coming from a place of loss.
Yeah.
I'm coming from a place of failure
Yeah.
and in equal measure success.
Mm-hmm.
What I've come to realize about life is that every decision that you make at every point in life is a ripple of different things that are also going to happen.
Yeah.
So by changing even just one thing,
Yeah.
one tiny detail
Yeah.
in my past 19 years could actually change the entire trajectory of my
your
life.
Yeah.
And so, no, I don't want to tempt fate like that. I am perfectly fine with everything that has happened this far, and I'm grateful.
Okay. And so, what does the next phase of your career look like? Still pursuing leadership without borders, or?
um, I think the thing I always shy away from,
yeah,
is to sort of legislate or put a target on, in the next 5 years, I want to be this. I want
yes,
to be the CEO here,
yeah,
and I want to do this. And I've always said to people is that the moment you put, yes, it's good in some aspects to have certain goals, but the moment that you put a bullseye and say, I want to be here in 5 years, sometimes what that can do is to blindside you from the other opportunities that
yeah,
will come through.
yeah,
And so I don't know what the next 5 years will look like. I couldn't even tell you I'll be the CEO or I'll be in
yeah,
this country.
yeah,
But the next 5 years, hopefully, and God willing, I'll still be healthy
Yes.
and still pursuing growth for me and whoever I am privileged to lead.
Okay.
Mhm.
And finally, in conclusion, what does leadership without borders mean for you?
For me, I would say leadership without borders is about pursuing growth, both for you as a person, but as also for the people that you lead. And for you as a person, me as a person here, it's expanding my worldview and challenging my biases, what views I've held about different cultures, and really having the culture of humility to actually be taught by the various people that I interact with in those markets. So that's where the growth for me comes. Growth for my teams or the people that you lead in those geographies is also your unique perspective that you're bringing
Yeah.
to the table, your empathy that you bring, but also your interest in elevating them more than it's not about you, it's about them. So, how are you bringing your varied, your diversified experience so that it also benefits them?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's the impact. That's really the influence and impact into play.
Yeah, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I think the impact and the influence and the growth sums it up. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed this episode, getting to know you more and getting to understand what leadership without borders is from your experience and your journey. And I am very sure our audience has enjoyed this episode as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you so much, Chuma, for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been
Okay.
a pleasure.
Okay. The pleasure is all ours. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.